Not one, not two, but three players from the transfer portal here on a Monday. What a ride for Tennessee. Are the Vols done in the portal? We'll discuss here on a Tuesday. Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome into it, your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. And boy, do we have a whole lot to talk about here today. You can always find me, your host, Eric Kane, on Twitter at _Kaner and at Locked On Vols. Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is your team every single day. Appreciate you guys for watching on YouTube, liking and subscribing to the channel, and listening wherever you find your podcast. All right, so typically Tuesdays or Twitter Tuesdays, you're set aside for mailbag. Not going to lie to you, we didn't get many submissions in for today's show, but that's okay because we have too much to talk about anyway. So if you have any questions, I saved what you guys have sent me. If you have any questions for tomorrow's show, for Wednesday's show, get them in at _Kaner and at Locked On Vols. I'll answer those questions on tomorrow's show. But Tennessee, man, it's fast and furious inside the transfer portal, am I right? I mean, goodness gracious. Not one, not two, but three players from the transfer portal, one addition or one subtraction to the portal in Juwan Mitchell. And then VFL Eric Berry is going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. That's really exciting. So that's a lay of the land here for your Tuesday show. Dante Thornton, wide receiver, Oregon, now of Tennessee. Omarr Norman-Lott, defensive lineman, Arizona State University, now Tennessee. We kind of broke those two down on Monday's show saying, will Tennessee gain the commitments of these guys? And if so, what are they getting if they do commit to the Vols? Well, we kind of answered those questions. Tennessee did pick up those commits. And not only those two commits, but offensive tackle from Miami in John Campbell. So these are all positions of need for the University of Tennessee. Let's start in reverse order. Tennessee needs tackles. Tennessee's got a lot of guards. Tennessee's got a lot of interior guys. Not a whole lot of depth, not a whole lot of movement at offensive tackle. Sure, you have Gerald Mincey, you have J.J. Crawford, who both kind of split duties there at left tackle this year, and they were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay. They certainly got the job done. Gerald Mincey is really just a left tackle, but J.J. Crawford can flip over and play right tackle. In fact, he started the Music City Bowl back in 2021 at right tackle, so there's some versatility there. You also have Dane Davis, who is not a starter, but has stepped up and played a whole lot of football for Tennessee over the past two seasons. So there's a lot of, there's some I wouldn't say a lot, there's some experience there, but outside of those three, there's not really anybody else that you trust to take a snap. And quite frankly, you can do better than some of that play from those three, if that makes sense. I mean, no one's going to be Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright is, he was really, really good, right? I mean, he was an all-conference player. He's going to be an NFL draft pick. He's, steady Eddie, reliable. And he finally lived up to that five-star caliber the last 2 years. 1 year playing left tackle, the other year playing right tackle. So he proved his worth. John Campbell's not going to be Darnell Wright, but you expect John Campbell to come in. He's an experienced guy, set to compete and ultimately be a guy, right? I mean, that's what Tennessee kind of envisions with John Campbell. And so, for Tennessee and John Campbell, who is John Campbell? What is Tennessee getting in the Miami offensive tackle? Well, they're getting a guy that's experienced, 6'5", 320 pounds. He did enter the transfer portal back on December the 16th. He chose between Tennessee and Florida ultimately, but Florida State was also in that running. All three of those programs officially hosted him for visits at some point or another. Well, I can speak on Tennessee and Florida. That was this past weekend. He came to town for a couple of days at the end of last week, and then he left Friday morning and went to the Swamp and spent the weekend in Florida, but ultimately, made the call to go to Tennessee. So he was a former three-star out of the 2018 class. He played a little bit as a redshirt freshman and sophomore in 2019. He missed the entirety of the 2021 campaign recovering from leg surgery, and then came back and he was the starting left tackle for Miami this past season. This will be his 6th year in college. I'm not going to lie to you, I have not spoken to John Campbell. I mean, other people at my team, VolQuest.com, have, but I haven't spoken to him to ask him this point blank. But next year or next season will be his 6th year in college. But I've seen it printed in other publications that he has 2 years of eligibility left. I'll have to double check on that. But ultimately, this is a guy that's experienced and can come in and compete right away. So that's good in terms of John Campbell. Now, the other two guys, Omarr Norman-Lott has 2 years of eligibility, And Dante Thornton actually has 3 years of eligibility. And that's a good thing for Tennessee because, will he stay all 3 of those years? I don't know. It depends on how he improves and it depends on how he plays. But you got a wide receiver that can come in, and we know about the steps year 1 to year 2 in the system a lot of the times. Look at Jalen Hyatt, right? I'm intrigued to see what Brew McCoy looks like next year because Brew McCoy wasn't bad this year. But you get Dante Thornton coming in, and he, plays, and you figure out exactly what his role is. Again, he preaches versatility. Tennessee preaches versatility with him, but he is 6'5". If he's not 6'5", he's 6'4" and, half or 3/4 or whatever, right? He is a big guy. He's 200 pounds. He's long, he's explosive, and he's fast. That is the definition of an outside wide receiver in this offense for Josh Heupel. So I'll be very, very, not shocked, but I'll be surprised if he is more of a slot guy than an outside guy. And what if he comes in and kind of gets settled in this year and getting a lot of reps and starting some games? Then maybe that next year he can really take off. Maybe he can take off this year. I don't know. But he'll have technically 3 years of eligibility, and then Norman-Lott has 2 years of eligibility. And as I spoke on Monday's show, that relationship with Rodney Garner goes all the way back to this time last year when Norman-Lott entered the transfer portal, but then ultimately decided to stay at Arizona State University. He's a guy that has had a combined 4 sacks, a combined 7 TFLs, and 44 tackles combined the last 2 seasons for the Sun Devils. So you can never have enough big men, right? A guy that's buying into the system, likes to be coached by Rodney Garner. When I caught up with him on Sunday leaving campus, Omarr Norman-Lott said, "Hey, I love the things nobody else can see. I love putting the work in the offseason. I love getting better in that regard and ultimately just playing my role and doing whatever I can to help the team come on Saturday." So I think Monday was a really good day for Tennessee. Is Tennessee going to be done? We'll see. We'll see. I think Tennessee ultimately still at some point or another would like to add a defensive back. We'll see what happens there. But we'll see if Tennessee can get that done. But the portal is closing. The portal is closing in terms of if you want to jump in the portal. That portal is slamming shut at the end of the week. I believe it's the 7th or I don't know. It's the end of the week, whatever. But that's coming to a close here in the next couple of days. But Tennessee had a really, really good day in the transfer portal. Tennessee now has 7 commits from the transfer portal. I'll name them off here for you if I can keep track here. All right, so on Monday, you got offensive tackle John Campbell, wide receiver Dante Thornton, defensive lineman Omarr Norman-Lott. Earlier, you got linebacker Keenan Peely, offensive lineman Andre Carrick, tight end McAllen Castles, and kicker Charles Campbell. Tennessee has 7 commits from the transfer portal, and Tennessee has 10 outgoing guys from the portal. I'll name these off real quick, but ultimately I'll say them again in the next segment when we talk about Juwan Mitchell, Walker Merrill, R.J. Perry, William Parker, Miles Campbell, Leneath Whitehead, Justin Williams-Thomas, Jimmy Callaway, Jordan Phillips, Jimmy Holloway, and now Juwan Mitchell. And that's where we stand at current positioning for the University of Tennessee. But hey, it was a big-time day for Tennessee in the portal. We'll talk more about this. I'm intrigued to see what Dante Thornton does. I mean, Tennessee is pretty set at wide receiver in terms of your outside options. Brew McCoy, no one's taking his spot. Romel Keaton, who stepped up and did so well this year. And then you got Squirrel White in the slot. You can never have too many. And I understand that you can always have a simple upgrade. I'm going to make people mad because I made people mad on this podcast before in saying this. And I mean no disrespect, but point blank, Romel Keaton didn't play for a reason. Romel Keaton was forced into action, and credit to him, he took advantage of it, and he did well, and he deserves to play. I mean, he does. But you just went out and got a receiver in the transfer portal, so someone's snaps are going to be limited here. And we know Tennessee only plays 3 wide receivers. So anyway, that's a discussion all offseason long, and we'll discuss that as the months progress into the summer months, then ultimately into the season next year, and see how it ultimately finds out or works its way out. But with this up-tempo offense, you don't substitute an awful lot. So it'll be intriguing to see kind of what those snap counts are. Tennessee did say goodbye to a linebacker who entered the transfer portal, Juwan Mitchell. What's the devastating blow of that, or is there anything? We'll discuss when Locked On Vols returns here in just one moment. But first, I'll remind you guys about our friends over at Built Bar. Looking for delicious treats but don't want all that fat and calories? You got to try Built Bar. Just got through the holidays. I know some of you guys are trying to eat healthier this year. We can all afford to eat a little healthier this year, but you don't want to compromise the taste. then man, I've got the thing for you. You've got to try Built Bar. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't think that they're good for you. Perfect for that New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. They're try that again. They come in unbelievable flavors, such as churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these Built Bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better than that is they're healthy, only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box for years. I've been saying on this podcast, order a Built at Built.com, right? But now you can get them at your local Walmart or your Sam's Club. That's right. Head on over to your nearest Walmart today. Walk into the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up from the 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, coconut puffs, or you can go to your local Sam's Club and grab a 13-bar box with the hit flavors brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. As always, you can still shop at Built.com, or now you can head to your local Walmart or Sam's Club for Built Bars. All right, guys and gals, welcome back into your Tuesday edition of the show. Don't forget, no mailbag here today, but if you've got questions, we're going to get to them tomorrow. Just find me on Twitter at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for making Locked On Vols your first listen every single day. Make sure to check out our brand new podcast. That's Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball all in one place. Plus, you can hear from the big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, that's available on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast. So, giveth and taketh away. That is the transfer portal, correct? But if you listen to this podcast and you follow my work on at _Caner and on VolQuest.com and the work of my colleagues, you know that this is coming as no surprise here. Juwan Mitchell has entered the transfer portal. Of course, Juwan Mitchell came to Tennessee by way of Texas. He was the leading tackler for the Longhorns in 2020. It never really materialized here at Tennessee. I say that he missed about 7 to 8 games a season ago with a shoulder injury. Questions were, was he buying in? Were they going to run him off? Was he going to leave via the transfer portal? Was he going to go to the draft? That was all last year. There was some serious doubt that Juwan Mitchell would even be on the team in 2022. But then reports came out and people around the program were talking about how he bought in, how he's seems like a different guy, and how he's been good inside that linebacker room, all that type of stuff. And it was onto the right track. He was injured and had to miss the first two, or he missed the first 2 games of the season, but he came back and he took over his starting linebacker spot, and it was Aaron Beasley, Juwan Mitchell, and Jeremy Banks, the 3 amigos, right? And of course, we talked about this before, Solon Page and some others, but the 3 rotation was what Tennessee used pretty much all year long, and Juwan Mitchell was a big part of that. Sure, he had some big time plays. He had that 48-yard interception return down the near sideline on the Danico Slaughter hit. That was in the Kentucky game. He was a part of that big 4th down stop once he finally got into the game in the Orange Bowl, along with Aaron Beasley. He made some plays here and there, but I feel like it just never really materialized for Juwan Mitchell in a Tennessee uniform. But he was an experienced guy. He could run a little bit, and Tennessee played him. Tennessee played him when he was available to play. Now, it was a little interesting. He did not appear for the first quarter and a half. Really, there's only a couple minutes left, maybe 4 or 5 minutes left in the second quarter of the Orange Bowl, and that's when the first time we saw Juwan Mitchell. So obviously there was some type of suspension there. And I'm willing to bet the way they handled Juwan Mitchell that week was how, not to open up a can of worms here, but that's probably how they were trying to handle Jeremy Banks against South Carolina. And so ultimately they just said, all right, man, you've done too much. We can't play you this week, whatever the case was. So Juwan Mitchell, it was always kind of strange. Thought for the longest time that he was, kind of like Jacob Warren, thought for the longest time that Juwan Mitchell was probably not going to be a part of the 2023 plans. And then all of a sudden we were told, yeah, he's wanting to come back. He's wanting to play again. Don't believe he went through senior day warm-ups or senior day walkthrough, whatever they call that, participated in senior day. And the plan was for him to be back. But now he enters the transfer portal. We'll have to see exactly if he wants to go to the NFL. But again, this has been kind of in the making for the last couple of weeks. It was a matter of when, if not if you will. So sometimes that's just kind of how college football works, especially for a guy that's been in college for 5 years like Juwan Mitchell, right? It's kind of a long time. And so we'll see what's next in store for Juwan Mitchell. But in 2022, he had 51 tackles. In 2021, he didn't have that many tackles. I don't have that stat here. But again, he missed a whole lot of time as well. Because of the COVID year, Mitchell could have returned this year, but ultimately he's entered the transfer portal. You also saw writing on the wall a little bit when Tennessee brought in Keenan Peely from BYU. And that could have been just to take the place of Jeremy Banks. You could have that three-man rotation still. But you brought in an experienced guy, a bigger guy, 6'3", 233 pounds at linebacker, who recorded 191 tackles in 41 games with the BYU Cougars, and he had 1 year of eligibility left. So you're essentially swapping Juwan Mitchell for Keenan Peely in that second layer of the defense. But also, I mean, there's a lot of young linebackers that Tennessee feels really, really good about. However, are they ready to be every down players? Is Elijah Herring right now ready to play 30 snaps a game? I don't know. It's Caleb Perry, who was a true freshman along with Elijah Herring this past year, but ultimately saw all of his work come on special teams. Is he ready to play 30 snaps a game defensively? I would say probably not. Are the true freshmen coming in who've already gotten some bowl season work, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Thielander, and Jalen Smith, are they ready to step in and contribute immediately? I would say no, but of those options I just named, I mean, Brian John Marie, Tim Banks, Josh Heupel loves those guys, those young guys in the linebacker room. And Aaron Beasley can sit there and mentor them. Keenan Peely can sit there and mentor them. And we'll have to see exactly what that snap count looks like this time next year. But what we do know, at least at this time, Juwan Mitchell has entered the transfer portal. It really comes as no surprise. Really, over the last couple of days to weeks, I thought the Orange Bowl would be the last time we saw him play. And ultimately, it was the last time that we saw him play. So I'll go back and I'll repeat it, at least in the Tennessee uniform. I'll repeat what we've done so far. In terms of the counting, Tennessee has brought in 7 players from the transfer portal, 3 commits on a Monday. Wide receiver Dante Thornton from Oregon. Defensive lineman Omarr Norman-Lott from Arizona State. Offensive tackle John Campbell from Miami. Linebacker Keenan Peely from BYU, as I just mentioned. Offensive lineman Andre Carrick, who I think will play guard from Texas. Tight end McAllen Castles from UC Davis. And kicker Charles Campbell from Indiana. So 7 have come in via the transfer portal. 10 now have gone out. Wide receiver Walker Merrill. Offensive lineman R.J. Perry. Offensive lineman William Parker. Tight end Miles Campbell. Running back Laneith Whitehead. Running back Justin Williams-Thomas. Wide receiver Jimmy Callaway, who's signed with Louisville. Defensive lineman Jordan Phillips, who committed to Maryland. Wide receiver Jimmy Holiday, who I just saw committed to Western Kentucky. And now Juwan Mitchell, the linebacker who entered the transfer portal on Monday afternoon. It's a busy, busy time. It really is a busy, busy time in terms of roster management. I'll tell you this right now. I think I said this on the Rocky Top Rewind. You guys might have seen it. And I'm in the minority when I say this, but I'll tell you what. I would never want to be a college football coach because all the crap you got to deal with. However, I will never say a college football coach doesn't deserve to make what he makes. Because they are dealing, they're not even coaching football. I mean, they're dealing with roster management, putting out fires here, putting out fires there, being the general manager, essentially, of your football program. It's annoying, but that's why you make the big bucks, right? So whatever a college football coach makes, well earned, well deserved, in my opinion. I mean, sure, there are coaches who are better than others. There are coaches who run a program way better than others. And maybe they deserve to make more money, which is kind of how we do this whole thing in terms of salary coaches. But with all the crap you got to deal with, I mean, I've seen coaches around campus like, getting off spring practice and doing all that type of stuff, and morning workouts and hosting official visitors, and then all these camp days in June. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like the month of June, golly. You got coaches that aren't sleeping at night. So anyway, that was just a little mini rant right there. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not fun to be a college coach right now. So you make yours, you make yours. All right, VFL Eric Berry. He's going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. How about that? We'll discuss that and end this Tuesday show when we return right here on Locked On Vols. All right, guys, we got a final segment left here of this Tuesday edition of the show. Don't forget to get in your Twitter Tuesday questions. We're going to do that on tomorrow's show, Wednesday. So if you got any questions, @_Caner on Twitter and @Locked On Vols. I had somebody direct message me the other day, a listener of the program, and ask about my bobbleheads and ask if I wanted to give a little background on where some of these bobbleheads have come from. I said I would love to do it. I don't know if anybody here watching or listening, certainly that'd be more for YouTube, but I don't know if anybody watching here gives a flip about my background setup, but there are some cool little bobbleheads back here that I could talk about that I thought was fun. So if that interests you whatsoever, let me know. But we'll answer all your questions on tomorrow's show. Okay, Eric Berry. I'm not singing it, but Eric Berry. College Football Hall of Fame, going to be inducted. How about that? Class of 2023. Former defensive back, safety, Eric Berry. He will become the 22nd volunteer to enter the College Football Hall of Fame. That announcement came from the National Football Foundation Monday afternoon. The native of Georgia, the son of former Vol captain James Berry, Eric got here in 2007 and played 3 seasons and played really, really well. He was a high school parade All-American, the number 1 ranked player in the state of Georgia, which is really, really good. He was the nation's top defensive back by every recruiting service. He was the Creekside High School starting quarterback as well. He did not disappoint when he got to Tennessee. He started his first college game at Cal back in 2007. He finished that year as the SEC Defensive Freshman of the Year. He was named a freshman All-American, a second-team All-SEC performer as a true freshman. He had 5 interceptions as a freshman. How in the world are you just a second-team All-SEC performer? 5 interceptions as a freshman, 222 interception return yards, and recorded 86 tackles. How in the world is that second-team All-Conference worthy? Yeah, sure, you were All-Freshman team. You were an SEC, you were a freshman All-American. That's great. But a second-team All-SEC pick with 5 interceptions and 86 tackles from the safety position? Good Lord. Good thing I wasn't in this industry back then. I'd light the world on fire. That's ridiculous. Oh, man. But still, he played 3 seasons in here, and fans loved him. There was a Heisman campaign for Eric Berry. There was a music video. There's a lot of good stuff that kind of came with Eric Berry. His sophomore year, he had 7 interceptions. I haven't looked at these stats in a long time. 7 interceptions, 265 yards of interception returns. 7 interceptions as a sophomore. My goodness. First player to be named a unanimous All-American since 1990 for Tennessee. His junior and final season back in 2009, he was named a unanimous All-American once again. He also won the Jim Thorpe Award and was the nation's best defensive back. In all, get this, okay, in all, Eric Berry, 245 tackles in 3 seasons, 17 and a half TFLs, 3 sacks, 14 interceptions. He had 12 his first 2 years, 2 his last year, 2 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 494 yards of interception returns. 3 of his 14 interceptions were pick sixes. How about that? That's pretty incredible. He was the 5th overall draft pick back in 2010 to the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a Pro Bowler 5 times. He was 2015 AP Comeback Player of the Year, overcoming Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was also a Pro Bowler in that comeback season. I don't think he's officially, I could be wrong here, I don't think he's officially retired from the NFL yet. I don't think he's made that announcement, but he hadn't played in quite some time. So far in his NFL career, 440 tackles, 14 interceptions, 5 defensive touchdowns in his career. Early in his career with the Kansas City Chiefs, he was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And then I just remember even lately, after he had his comeback season in 2015, playing defensive back, playing safety, playing nickelback for the Kansas City Chiefs in some of those big-time AFC matchups in the divisional round or in the AFC Championship game, guarding, Rob Gronkowski, guarding, some of those guys in the slot and trying to make things really difficult for them. But I feel like he's just one of those good guys, one of the good guys in college football, one of the good guys in Tennessee football, and that's kind of why fans love him so much. But, when I was in, I was young in high school. I think he got drafted. I guess he was at Tennessee kind of my freshman, sophomore, junior years or whatever. But I just remember him. I mean, I remember playing him. I remember him playing. I remember going to games and watching him. I remember when he got drafted. I was at Young Life that night. I remember I got the notification on my phone. He's a stud. He was an absolute stud. He was fun to watch. That was back when when Florida had Tim Tebow. And I remember one time it was like when that immovable object meets whatever, I forgot. I'm not a scientist here, but Tim Tebow's took off and and Eric Berry went to go tackle him, and they hit, and they both fell down. It's kind of one of those things. So I got a lot of good memories from my childhood when Eric Berry was playing at Tennessee. And it's been fun to watch him play in the NFL. 22 Volunteers in the College Football Hall of Fame. How about that? Trivia question here. Only 3 Tennessee Volunteers are in both the College Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. Can you name those 3? One should be pretty easy. We broke that down on Locked On Balls about a year and a half ago. Should have been the latest one. It's Peyton Manning. I'm sure you guys already got that one. What about the other 2? One should be super, super easy. His jersey's retired across the NFL. Or not across the NFL. Maybe I spoke too soon. His jersey's retired for the Eagles. He was, jersey's retired for Tennessee for sure. It's Reggie White. What about the other one? The other one might be a little confusing. I'll tell you, though. Doug Atkins, Reggie White, and Peyton Manning. The only 3 Tennessee Volunteers who are both the College Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, good job for Eric Berry. Phenomenal accomplishment. News broke Monday afternoon. Some of us media people, we found out for embargoed stories earlier that Monday. So, I mean, that's really awesome. Obviously, Evan Berry and Elliott Berry also played here at Tennessee. Of course, father, James Berry, Eric's father, was a captain here at Tennessee. So it was kind of ran in the family, and it was fun, super, super fun to watch. Evan Berry was a really good kickoff returner for Tennessee as well. Really good. In fact, I think he was he not an All-American one year as a kick returner? I could be wrong. I don't know. But congratulations to Eric Berry, going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. That is awesome. All right. Fast and Furious Tuesday show. Plenty that we went over. Dante Thornton, Oregon wide receiver. Omarr Norman-Lott, Arizona State defensive lineman. John Campbell, Miami offensive tackle. All those guys committed from the transfer portal to the University of Tennessee on a Monday afternoon. And that's good stuff. Tennessee's continuing to add to its roster, put bodies in positions of need, and see if they can create some competition moving forward to next year. So that is good to see. All right, that's going to do it here for a Tuesday show. As always, Locked On Balls, your first listen each and every day. We're going to keep it here, same time, same place tomorrow. Get me in your questions, your comments, your concerns. We'll take those on a Wednesday show. We'll catch up with Josh Ward, hopefully, and a couple other people as well. Got some fun interviews for the rest of the week. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Would be doing me a huge service. If not, we'll ask again tomorrow. This is Locked On Balls.